Hi, we're back with Close-Up News. I'm Sharon Skittle.
And I'm Freddie Starburst, and we're here with Willis Marburger, who's going to tell us about project-based learning. So, what does the future workplace of the 21st century look like, and how is it different from the 20th century?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that because it's a very important question in education that we have to answer right now. The most important thing we have to realize is that in the 20th century, work in the United States was mostly centered around agriculture, mining, fishing, forestry, production, factories. Okay, a matter of fact, during the time of turn of the 1900s, turn of the 20th century, 38% of the people were involved in agriculture, while 31% were involved in manufacturing, and 31% were involved in other service-type industries. Okay, we find at the turn of the century, going into the 21st century, we only need 3% of our population to produce all the food needed for the entire country. Okay, we've also moved out of the production sector. We went from 31% down to only 19% of us are actually working in making something, manufacturing, mining, all that type of things. We're down to now that we have 78% of the people of the country are involved in the service industry. So obviously the model for schools has to change. The 20th century model, where it's structured around the 3 R's, was really focused on getting people ready for the 40-hour work week and being members of the post-World War II industrial society. Okay? One of the very important things we have to note is, as we look at the changes going into this 21st century, a lot of people, when your competition, what was it? Oh, Nightline, went ahead and did that series on the deep dive, looking at IDEO out of California and how they brought all these people together from different fields to work on projects, and they were really working on the right brain type of design part of things. This is really how we thought that the work world was going to go. We found that even greater changes have happened in the decade since. We're now in 2010, and we find that not only do we have all these diverse people working with each other, they're doing it from home, they're telecommuting. They're working from all kinds of different places. The office is no longer the central workplace. So we have to prepare students to be ready to work in that environment where they can actually share information, collaborate, build things, get results, but not actually be in an office together like we are now.
Why would teachers want to abandon tried and true methods that have served our great nation so well over the last 100 years? We have been the paramount nation throughout the 20th century. Why not just get back to the 3 R's?
Well, Sharon, that's a very good question. Why the 3 R's still play a fundamental role in education, okay, reading, writing, and arithmetic, we actually now, with so much that's changed in the 21st century, have to start focusing on the 3 new R's. We have to focus on rigor, relevance, and results. Okay, it's far more important to get our kids to be able to work and get something done. So we have to go above and beyond what we did in the 20th century. So what we got to make sure is that our kids are prepared to go out in the world and have the tools that they need to go ahead and work. Daniel Pink in a Whole New Mind actually talked about the right brain individual, how we've focused over the 20th century so much on the left brain making things. We now have to focus on the whole brain. Not only can we make something, but how to do it creatively. Because there is so much competition in the world. 50 years ago, nobody pictured Asia playing such a role in the economy that it does now. They've gone from a third world area to being a group of people that have information, education, and are able to do every bit of good work as we do in the United States, but cheaper because of economics. Okay? We didn't plan on automation displacing so many workers. We now need so few workers to actually do anything. Okay? And our communication, and communication with the internet, how much work we can do without actually being face-to-face.
One more question. How does project-based learning help students get ready for the 21st century?
Well, what you got to imagine is that our goal as public high school is to get students ready to go out in the world and either work and be an active citizen or be able to even move on and prepare for a more technical type of schooling. We have to get students ready for the world that they are going to live in. Now granted, back in the 20th century, that's what schools did. We got kids ready to go out there and punch time clocks, go to work 40 hours, all the things that we value. Okay? We're now finding that employers are valuing getting the job done. And how do we get the job done in the 21st century? We have to share. No longer can we have the individual mad scientists sitting by themselves creating. We actually have to have our students ready to compete in this global marketplace by actually collaborating over long distances, using communication tools, and actually producing stuff. Okay? The big key in education right now is what is your results? What can you produce? And that's what people are measured at work. When you guys go out and you guys are doing this interview right now, nobody cares what you did in the in-between times. All they care is on your deadline date that you guys were able to collaborate and produce something so that it meets the deadline. And that's what our employers want, future employers want, so that's what we have to focus on our kids.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's good talking to you.
You
I'm
too.
looking forward to you guys coming into my classroom later today and looking at some project-based learning.
So,
And I also hear that you're going to see my twin brother, so and see how he goes about doing things. So I hope that you guys find the contrast very interesting.
hello, I'm Freddie Starburst, and I am here with Mrs. Shadle-Smith to tell us about project-based learning. So what does a project-based learning lesson plan look like?
A project-based learning lesson plan is designed to appeal to all learners. Basically, the goal of the teacher when planning a project-based learning lesson is to work as a guide for the students in the creation of the projects. They will work together to find common interests among the class members and create projects that are interesting and motivating to the learners, and will create an environment where the students will take away a lot of information that they may not have necessarily taken away if they're doing traditional classroom lessons. For example, if a traditional math classroom teacher may have the students do the questions in their books, and then they go up to the board, and then they go over the problems on the board. Well, within a project-based learning classroom, the lesson will be designed so that the teacher would incorporate a project, and this, like I said, this will be done through interests of the students, and basically the details of the project would begin by thinking of the end prior to the beginning of the project. They keep the end in mind. And the way that this works is the teacher works with the students to design some different ideas for projects, and then the math concepts will be incorporated into these lessons. So you wouldn't necessarily begin the lesson with the concepts for the math and then work from beginning to the end. You would think of what the project would be, and then you would incorporate those into the lesson. Some other different things that are incorporated into project-based learning lessons are the integration of technology.
Environmental Club members should report to Mrs. Hendricks' room for a brief meeting.
Technology is always incorporated into project-based learning lessons. This is not only to produce the end result, but also to help the student to practice new concepts and things like that. Another thing that is integrated into project-based learning lessons is storytelling. I don't know about you, but I remember back in high school or middle school, different concepts that I was supposed to learn, and the reason I remember them is because a great story was involved and the telling of some information regarding these concepts, and then it helped to lodge those key concepts into my memory. Another important factor in project-based learning lesson planning is to create non-competitive group and teamwork within the lessons. The students learn to work together to create an outcome, create a project. And then I guess the last most important thing that isn't typically seen within the traditional classroom lesson planning is creating a home-to-school connection. Teachers don't always incorporate the family members into the different projects and activities that are done within the classroom, and within the project-based learning classroom, the lessons are created to incorporate the families within these projects.